That was my goal. So we get to the day of the surgery. Now I had lost all that weight, so it was like 8 stone by the 11th of November, and he was saying, yeah, he'll definitely do surgery. Camera crew move in, you know. And I said, can we do it this year, because this is the year that changed my life. So 2012 was the year that changed my life. That I changed my life. It wasn't the year that changed my life. It was the year that I consciously chose to change my life. So he said, yeah, sure. And he had one day free. And it was New Year's Eve. So I'd gone down. So I went down on the 30th with the camera crew. Camera crew took me down to Portsmouth. We sort of stayed in this room. And it was over 9.5 hours. And plus, I think it was an hour and 45 minutes to actually be woken. So it was quite a horrific kind of. He went in, and he found live on television. Yeah, so he did this, and there's several feeds out on the internet where he's condensed it, shown bits, shown other bits. He's using it in teaching methods now, because the further he went into my abdominal cavity, the more injuries he found that were just overlooked before. And so it was worse than if I had been in a truck accident. If I had been smashed by a truck and thrown into another truck, or a high speed moving train, it was the injuries he told me was worse than that.
Because during the sexual assault, these men had literally stabbed on your abdomen and your tummy.
So I had several rounds of surgery by the time I went in to see him, and so I had lost my spleen. I initially lost my spleen, and they did some bowel surgery. There was a bit taken off my bowels because they were perforated. You know, they had split in some places. So that was the initial round. So I kept getting toxic shock for those two reasons, and I had autoimmune disease and immune deficiency as well. So he's gone in, and he's found hernia after hernia after hernia, injury after injury after injury. So where he only went in to take a look, he's ended up doing complete reconstructive surgery on my abdominal cavity, and he removed the bits that where my stomach had started to join to my intestine. So there was a hole, and it had started to balloon out, and so that's why my body just could not get much smaller than what it was, because any food, it was just going straight into this like bend where fibrous tissue had rejoined itself and grown itself another entity. It's like organs are so miraculous, you know. It's like you can injure them and injure them and injure them, and they will grow another extension and just carry on functioning, you know. So that's what had happened. So that's how I ended up being on fat surgeons, because he actually removed my stomach in the end, and he made a new one, made a pouch. So I could still function, yeah. But I'd already lost 11 stone by then, remember? So I was delighted, because there was no way I wanted to put back on any weight.
No.
So I was actually really pleased when he told me that he'd done all this. Anyway, so I woke up from that.
Your poor body, I mean...
I know, it's been through absolute hell.
So much.
But the essence hadn't.
Yeah, remains the
The
same.
essence hadn't been for anything. The essence was still very much pure love and joy and peace, and you know, all good things that you can possibly imagine, and more. That's my essence, was still that. My essence wasn't injured at all. And so I woke up, I opened my eyes, and you know, in a hospital room, you're sort of like, so I've got like 4 men in the room filming, like waiting for this moment. They were waiting for me to wake up, and they're filming, and I've woken up, and I could see a toilet ahead of the bed. So sort of like in a private room, you've got the bed, and then you've got like a bedside table next to you, and then just ahead of you to the left or right, there's like a toilet with your own private toilet. And I saw the toilet, and in my mind is going, oh, you're bursting to go to the toilet. So I've like thrown the sheets back, and I've like walked to the toilet. You're
paralysed.
Yeah, I've like pulled this drip. It's like on a trolley. I've just grabbed it and walked there, and I got into the door. And don't forget, I'd had so much drugs because the surgery was
So you're not quite with it.
11.5 hours had passed by then. So I'm standing in the doorway and I started shaking, going, oh, like this, like, help me, help me. And the guys in the room were just motionless, they couldn't move, they were stunned. Like, and I was like, please help me, help me. And so I'm shaking in the doorway, and one of them has carried me back to the bed and put me in the bed. And honestly, it was in that moment that I felt that essence was running right through everything, right through it. It filled the room, and everyone was in tears, you know. And I'm like smiling at the hugest, most radiant.
Bless your heart.
It was shining. So the essence was shining out through my face and out through every pore and every hair and everything. It was just the most magical thing. So pretty much the surgery, it gave that connection from the brain, and anything that was severed, nerve channels and stuff, the way the current runs through your body, it was all unblocked, and that was that.
Because he'd removed anything that wasn't necessary, anything that was injured, presumably the hernias and everything else. So it just enabled the chi, the life force energy, to run through your body efficiently.
Yeah, I think they call it meridians. So he'd unblocked meridians.
Yeah, the meridians.
And you see, that's another thing. Because I wanted so badly to tell my story with a view, because I was able to type it, but I couldn't actually speak it with my voice, and I had been embarrassed about how I looked, having white hair through being born with albinism, no pigment, and bullies, you know, always loved it when I was growing up. I was hiding. I had been hiding, and it got to the point where I'd learnt to walk. So February came, and I'd gone to rehabilitation centre. I got wheeled in. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I got wheeled in, and I could see an athletics track outside the window. People were talking to me about what I want to do. What do I want to do first? What do I want to learn? And I'm like, no, I want to go out there because I want to be a runner.
Did you honestly?
Yeah. They were like, no, we've got to do some we've got to do some work inside the centre first. I went, no, I want to go out there, and I was dead adamant. No, I'm going to run around. I'm running around that track. You know, my brain was like already doing it. It was already doing it. So through learning how to speak and how to express myself with my voice, I've had to learn this whole new language of personal development. I didn't even know what personal development was. You know, I'm like, yeah, but I've had these experiences where I have felt these things. I've experienced these things. They didn't have labels, so I've had to learn the labels. So I'm in my wheelchair in the rehabilitation centre, and I'm telling myself that I'm running. So I now know that that's called visualisation and manifesting the dream, right? But I didn't know that at the time. To me, I was just overwhelmed, and I am running around this track. I didn't even say I'm going to run around it. So I am in my head. I'm doing it, you know.
I'm running around it.
And then so Easter came, bank holiday, because I said I'm going to do it Easter, bank holiday Monday. I'm going to get round there one way or another. Even if I have to drag myself around by miles, I'm getting round there. And Easter bank holiday came, and I had been working so hard, like multiple times a day. You know, I was, my legs were being moved on machines, and I was getting strapped to machines, and the machines were moving, you know, so I had muscle memory, and I was able to stand for 10 seconds, and I was able to move a bit by then. So Easter bank holiday came, and I said, I'm getting around there. And I did. I got to the gym. My daughter and I actually walked there, because it was a very short distance, you know, about 0.9 miles or 0.8 miles, something like that. We actually walked there. We took our time. We really did. We got there, and I walked through the door just as it started snowing. And so they wanted to close down they wanted to close down the thing, but because I had kept on saying, you know, I'm going to do this, and I had invited, there was a reporter from the BBC came, and he was going to do it for the One Show, and so we went, no, we're doing it, I'm doing it. And so I went out there, and I made it round, and my daughter Angelica filmed it all as well, so I have a
that
private
must have been one incredible feeling.
So I kept stopping, but I did get round. And
you did it?
Yeah, I did it. I got all the way round, and I've just never looked back since.
What was your mental health like at this point? Because by this point you've done the equivalent of climbing a couple of mountains and coming down the other side. So
and then some, yeah. No, I was really solid. And by this point I had found, I found that I wasn't sounding crazy anymore, because I was sticking to being true to myself. And the more I did that, the more people listened. See, at first, when I first started trying to express myself, I sounded like a crazy person because I was like, like I was all over the place and I was hysterical. Especially when they were trying to give me medications and things that I didn't want. I sounded hysterical because obviously I was panicking. I was, I probably did sound crazy. So assessment after assessment, I was assessed and they said, she's justifiably upset. That was the diagnosis. This lady is justifiably upset. So I got that in writing. I've still got that. That's my get out of jail free card as far as I'm concerned. I passed go, collected my £200 and I had the get out of jail free card. This lady is justifiably upset. That's what it actually says.
Such an understatement.
Yeah, that's what it actually says. But it was the equivalent of getting a chance on Monopoly, isn't it? Chance card on Monopoly. Yeah. This is my get out of jail free card.
Absolutely.
So I've kept that. I've kept that one.
Where was hope in your life at this point?
I don't actually believe in hope being the best thing. I think blind faith is when you feel something. You're not just wishing for it. You're not just desiring it. You actually feel that is what you're going to do. Having blind faith is the feeling, and actually doing the things is the action. So the actual doing of the actions, that's the hope. It's like, I hope I'm not going to fall, I hope I'm not going to fail, that's the hope. But to actually achieve things in the first place, I think you have to have blind faith above hope, because blind faith is not... Jim Carrey says hope is a beggar. Hope just waits in the background, begging for the opportunity to be seen and heard, whereas blind faith is the actual feeling. So,
because when I couldn't see, and I would say to people, I know I'm going to see again, I know I am, there's blind faith, I'm going to see, no one can change my mind. A lot of people said to me I was in denial, I wasn't seeing things in reality. I had people telling me that I should have a white stick and that I should apply for benefits and that I should... do all of the, learn Braille and all these different things. And I would just say, no, because it's temporary, because in a minute I'm going to be able to see again. At the end of this, I'm going to be able to see again. Now, I'd had an encounter with what I believe was my higher self and my angel that told me the outcome right at the beginning, after a 9-hour operation on my eyes, actually. What would you say to those people at the time, or did you have people at the time telling you were maybe in denial or not?
Everyone did. Not one person listened to me. This doctor was this surgeon, this TV surgeon, specialist person. He was the first person that actually listened to me. And then there was the Qigong guy who put me in touch with somebody fairly local to me, who we became really firm friends. Then there was him. Everyone in my life now is new. Everyone. Every single person, except for my own children. Except my own children.
Why was that? That sounds like a silly question in the sense of you kind of explained it, but would you explain to my listener why that happened? Because a lot of the same happened to me. There's lots of parallels here, which I keep giving me goosebumps.
This is why we were supposed to meet, isn't it?
I know, It's so true. Is
the higher self again.
People, totally, our higher selves know each other.
Well, for me, it's always been. I have always said this, and just because I had that horrific experience, on top of some other pretty traumatic experiences in my life, I have always said, I want and will make my own decisions. So anybody deciding stuff for me, no matter how small, people come into your life and they think that they know, I'm going to be really helpful, and from no matter what the intention, as soon as somebody takes a decision out of your hands and they make it for you, like say if somebody wants to be helpful and they know someone that first of all they've identified a need in you, they think you need help with a certain something, they know someone that can help you with that, so they give them your phone number. Right? That's a kind thing on the surface, but when you pick it apart and break it down, what they've actually done is they've assessed you with no kind of like knowledge of whether you've even got a problem. They've just determined for themselves that you have something that needs fixing. They've then determined what that thing is. They've then formed an attachment to it for themselves. And you might be totally oblivious to this. You might not even know that you've got this issue, right? They've decided you've got this issue. They've then sourced out the person that's going to help you with it, and they've given them your number. So you haven't chosen any of that. And when you start acting like you don't want that, they act like you've broken a contract with them.
This is one of the big things with me, is about power, and when people try to take your power away.
Yeah, so when being paralysed,
what you've described,
being paralysed, visually impaired, partially sighted, whatever you want to say, your people come into your sphere with that in their minds. This person is powerless. No, she ain't. No, there's no circumstances, none whatsoever, that is ever going to get me to hand over my power. I mean, obviously, there's a surrender. There's a book. I've recently read a book, and I've given talks on this book as well. It's called The Surrender Experiment. Now, you need to look that up because it's a series of lectures. What's the author's name again? I didn't want to sound dumb then, but it's gone out of my mind.
I've got menopause brain fog.
Well,
there's no chance.
The thing is, because I've become a fully present in the moment person because of all this experience of the essence and energy. It's very difficult then to suddenly switch moments and call some information in that you need suddenly. Like, so if it's a practical piece of kit, like an author's name, it just abandoned me in that moment. So it's not, it's not. Anyway, so the surrender experiment is where you surrender and be fully present in every moment, and you understand that your essence is exactly the same today at age 50 as it was when you were 10 or 8 or 4 or 3. You were the same essence. It's just, all that's changed is your body's aged. And when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, it's a trick of the light. It's your essence is the same. It's your perception, your interpretation of how you look, and other people coming into that picture, they do form judgments. They do, and
they come with an expectation. And I always think
it's expectation and contracts. Well. It's contracts. You've
absolutely.
When somebody, so like that example I just gave, somebody giving out your phone number. They in their minds think they're doing something wonderful, and also in their minds on a subconscious level is that I have agreed, that I've acquiesced to it in some way, when the person that is being helped and being given this gift of a beautiful thing that they think they're giving you a beautiful thing, I know nothing about it. I didn't even know I was aware I had an issue that needed fixing until you told me, So it's like you can go through your life and I'm sure you can find many examples where you've disagreed with something that somebody's done, and they've gone all out and been completely hurt, completely confused. They're wondering why you're being so horrible. They're wondering why are you being like that? I love you, I'm being really kind to you. Why are you doing that? It's because I haven't agreed to the contract. I haven't signed a thing. I didn't even know that you was expecting me to agree with something that I didn't choose, So I get really passionate. I get really, really passionate when I'm talking about this.
I totally agree. And it is about having those clear boundaries with people and about taking responsibility for yourself. I mean, ultimately, that's
totally,
what it's about.
Totally. It's like if I always do say when I'm teaching that if I chose to cut the digit of my finger off, I would expect you to if you want to do something kind, hand me a bandage, but don't make a judgment. Do not decide for me whether I can do that. It's totally up to me. Not that you couldn't pay me to harm myself in any way now, but
no, but I know what you mean.
It's up to me. If it's like if I wanted to dye my hair blue, and people would naturally say, "Oh yeah, but your hair's white and it's part of your image. It's part of who you are." First of all, I don't have an image. Second of all, this is me. Third of all, I didn't choose to have white hair, but I embrace it totally. So no, I wouldn't. But if I did want to wake up one day and suddenly say, "Oh, I think I'm going to have multiple coloured hair," that would be totally my choice. Asking for anyone else's opinion, but people think that they're being kind when they give you these, and they form, I mean, that's what I've just described there, with how people give you things, and from their heart they're being really kind, but for you, you're not choosing it. That's the description of a toxic connection. Textbook toxic connection is where their expectations and your level of wanting to just be free and wanting to choose for yourself do not mix. They do not meet. You can't. There's no meeting in the middle of that. And so everyone in my life that I've got in my life now, because I'm living in London now. We've moved, and I don't know anyone. I hardly know anyone in London, because I'd spent considerable length of time becoming qualified, becoming seriously knowledgeable, and seriously certified in various areas, and learning how to deliver with my voice too. So I've been a bit busy, and I am a mum, and I do run workshops, and I do kind of inspire people. I've recently just been voted in as Inspirational Woman of the Year again.
I know you have. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Apparently, because I haven't watched TV since 2011. I got rid of the television when. I
don't either.
I got rid of the television when I started to do all this kind of like honour my essence kind of thing. I felt like TV was useless, but I got rid of television. So I don't know the names of things. I genuinely just don't know the names of stuff. I mean, I know a lot of people, especially in the public speaking world and the personal development world, they do things online and they're avidly stuck on, well, I did this program the other day, and they're just like ramming it down everybody's throats. I don't do that. I do all these experiences, and they're just beautiful, magical experiences.
All parts of the tapestry.
And I move on to the next one. It's. I have to ask people, can you just tell me the name of that thing again? And people do. I don't need to fill myself with all these like pointless details when I have like, I can just go on to like social media and say, what was the name of that thing again? I can be an airhead these days.
What a wonderful thing though for the people around you and the people that have obviously met you and that inspired you, that actually give you that accolade.
Well, I can keep my head free to be creative and focus on art and music and my designs, and I can keep headspace for those things. So anyway, Inspirational Woman of the Year, it was running on ITV television in the UK, and I think online in Europe. I think even in the States they have our channels now, in Canada. But anyway, they had nominations that were running in September and October last year. Now I went to America to have my book published this time last year, which is a whole nother story, because obviously because of the things that have been going on this year, it's been postponed for the moment. But I went over there, and while I was over there, apparently I was posting I was writing for a travel website, and I was posting it, and every day my blog for the New York experience, it had 1,200 minimum hits, not maximum, minimum. It had 1,200 hits minimum a day, every entry. And so apparently thousands of people nominated me for Inspirational Woman of the Year when they saw it on the TV. So that particular week, and I was away, I had no idea about it. I came back to the UK at the end of sort of mid to end November. I've landed, and I get home to like masses and masses and masses of emails, mail in through the door, phone messages, all kinds of stuff saying I need to contact these producers, and I thought, it must be a public speaking thing. I had no idea, and I've contacted them. And my agent was like, no, you really must make sure you do this today. So I've before I've even gone to bed, I've landed, come home, hadn't unpacked anything, hadn't done anything. I thought, oh God, what's happened, So I've contacted them, and they said to him, you've actually had, I think they said it was something like 500 nominations a day online, and they'd never seen anything like this before. So they wanted to make a program. And so it was scheduled for the spring, so Easter. It was Easter, because Easter seems to be my thing. It was scheduled for Easter, but then this year we had the lockdown and there was other things going on. So you couldn't go in person to do anything, so everything was shut. So they postponed it to November. So it was supposed to be, they had the awards ceremony on November the 12th scheduled, and it was going to be a large kind of like an event, and it was very special. And the other day I learned that this too has been postponed because of London going into a next level of risk or something at the weekend.
Yeah.
And so they've had to postpone again. Now they're debating with themselves whether to do this online. But I kind of am saying, no, this why wait? You know,
Yeah,
so many people.
Well,
It's not the fact that I want to enjoy it. It's just they've said I can give a talk as well. I can have the microphone for some time. It's not about enjoying it. It's about honouring the people who took the time to speak up that they were inspired by my presence. If that person sitting at home who is, you know, really, really suffering mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever way, or even you know, with weight loss, because I've actually lost 209 pounds in weight, which is 229 pounds. Sorry, it's 109 kilos, 229 pounds in weight. So I'm like a third of the size that I was when I was injured. So it's like honouring the people who actually took the time to fill in that nomination form and actually say why my voice, my words, whether it was reading me online or following one of my blog, or actually connecting with me through social media, or coming along to one of the talks that I've done, being in a live audience, or in later times on Zoom audiences, you know, or taking part in one of the workshops that I run, doing something creative with me, whatever it is, right across the board. It's about honouring those people that took the time to call me their dragonfly lady, to not allow me to just disappear into the shadows, and you know, I didn't know what love was before. I just didn't know. So I've had my children. Yes, that's something that goes without saying. You know, they're my world. You know, it goes without saying. But I never knew what love was from other people before, directed at me. I never knew that. I never had that from parents, relatives, or anyone. You know, I grew up in foster care. I was removed and put into foster care, children's homes. I never knew what that was. I never allowed myself to fall into that. You get past a certain point where you're feeling all safe and everything, and then bang, everything blows up. I never allowed myself to fall into that safe zone in the first place before, but now it's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing that people took the time, and people really did. Some of the letters that I've received, I was crying for about 3 weeks reading them in a good way, because it was just so heart. My heart and soul has just given me that essence of feeling like I'm in all those flowers again, and I understood what that crying was.
To honour that, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
because
so important
when I was actually dead and I was in this, floating in this flowery kind of environment, and I could hear all that crying, seeing all these letters. I mean, I've got masses and masses and masses of actual letters what was sent to the TV studio. Seeing that was that. Hearing that crying, that was it. It was now on my lap, in front of me, all around me, and in front of me. And I'm thinking, wow, I did that. Just by saying, just by getting up and saying, right, I'm me, who wants to do some knitting? Who wants to do a painting? Who wants to do this? You know, just by getting up and saying that. Or saying, God, you know, I really want to break something today. I just, you know, just by me doing me, it has inspired thousands of people around the world to be them. And it's okay to say, in this moment, I feel like utter crap. But in the next moment, you might be smiling, and people around you won't know that you felt like crap. And that's okay too. Whatever you have to do you, do it. You know, it's like, yeah. So by me saying that, and by me showing it, because I mean, when I started out to do this, it was the early 2000s. Like I said, it was 2002, October the 3rd. I started to become sort of like a public figure. And that wasn't through choice. It was literally because I was trying to get the racism laws changed. So because my son had been bullied, and the colour had come into it, I was using that. you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was using whatever I could to get my son's predicament to end, you know, and you kind of like, I found my voice. I became this sort of like fierce kind of like person, and hundreds of people started following that, and then I got into like, well, you know, I've woken up pregnant, paralysed, and I don't know what to do, you know, so I was very real. I never hid any aspect of what I was living, and I was living. Yes, I was paralysed in bed, soaked in bodily fluids, and having to be prodded, poked, moved about, shoved, cleaned, you know, everything. But I was alive. I was living. I was still a mum. I was still everything. I was still me. But I just didn't know that until reading back through all my journals and everything. I realised how much of me was actually thriving on. I was still thriving. I was still a very creative being. I was still producing. I became a knitwear designer from in bed.
Did you?
Yeah, because I was making stuff and I was posting them on my blog, and people wanted to know how to make them. So I had to learn how to make PDFs on my laptop. I had to learn how to type up patterns. I had to learn to speak that language. And I started sending patterns out to people.
It's extraordinary. I mean, we haven't even touched the surface of the 100 days yet, but it just strikes me that there's something extraordinary about you, because amidst all of that was going on, you still held on to that essence. You still did things to keep yourself thriving, and you found different ways to connect with other humans.
I did.
And to keep your creativity going.
I did, because they were sourcing me out. You know, people would type into fighting racism, or I started working with a guy in like 1998 who was one of the top fashion photographers in the world. He started photographing people who had albinism back in 1998 because he was furious about having to do this airbrushed modelling thing, and people with albinism, when he first saw someone with albinism at a bus stop, and he wanted to photograph her because she had such a unique appearance, you know, white hair and everything, same as me. And he started to research, and he realised that we were being depicted as freaky people in movies and in Hollywood. We were being seen as the villains, the deranged kind of like spooky horror show.
Discrimination.
Yeah, we were being seen as that, and he wanted to show us as, so through my work of doing things online and being a very outspoken person, our paths crossed, and they've stayed crossed, and I'm a Pearl ambassador for positive exposure, his movement that shows people can just be themselves no matter what they have been given, no matter what cards they've been dealt. You are just you, and you shouldn't try and fit. You shouldn't try and be moulded by someone else. So yes, you briefly touched on the 100 days just then. So after I'd had all this surgery, I was told that I had cancer, which had been missed for all the abdominal surgeries. So 100 days to live, but that was in 5.5 weeks. That was 6 years ago. So
wow.
Yeah, so I've truly stuck to my essence. I've stuck to being true to my essence.
You've stared death in the face numerous times, and you've not given in. You've not stopped that will to live and that will to make a difference in the world. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, that little girl who was going through difficulties, that little girl of maybe 10, 11, who was going through all those tough things.
If I was 8 to 10 years old, I would say don't change a thing. Because I am her now. That whenever I post a picture of myself age 8 in my like brownie uniform, I always say this is my hero pic, because that girl was fearless.
Oh, I love that.
I do.
And she really was.
In pretty much every talk.
Everything she went through, she survived, and she kept going.
She wasn't a virgin. She wasn't innocent. She wasn't any of the things. She wasn't able to use imagination, or she wasn't able to initiate things for herself because she was, you know, visually impaired at a special school. You know, everything was decided for you, even what subjects you learnt. You couldn't choose anything. So I was like thrust into this music world, you know, back then. So I would say to her, don't you dare change a thing, because later on in life it will be your turn again, and like it is her turn again. She is who I am. She was totally fearless. She didn't give a flying fig what anybody said. she was going to shine no matter
wonderful.
what, and that's who I am now. So I've gone full circle, and I'm back to her. But if it was my like early 20s, and you were asking me what I'd say to myself, I would say don't order that takeaway again. Don't order that pizza for like the third time that week. Get out and walk in the park more. You know, ride your bike. You know, I would be saying, no, don't just sit on the sofa like, watching DVDs and videos. If it was my 20-year-old self, I'd be saying, stop everything.
Yeah.
Stop everything.
Yeah, I would be saying the same, I think. Put down the chocolate.
Yeah. But my 8-year-old self, I'm 8 to 10 years old, I was, don't change a thing.
Beautiful.
Don't change a thing.
So what does the future hold for you? We talked about your book, didn't we? Which is, it depends on your perspective,
yes.
which is due out as soon as possible.
Well, basically...
Could you tell us about that? Because you've already told me a bit off air. I'd love you to share.
I'm not allowed to say the name of the publishers on a global media platform until they themselves say their names. But it is a massive, well-known, highly prestigious celebrity publishers. Okay? They don't publish memoirs or journals or diaries or autobiographies of any kind. Every 10 to 15 years or so, they will pick like a handful and say, this is worthy of our name, our label. This is worthy of our label. And I worked relentlessly for over 3 years to get on that platform, and they had a full team of lawyers go over my medical records, go over all the court paperwork for the 2 guys that are serving a very long sentence for attempted murder and, you know, sexual assault, rape and everything. They picked apart everything, and to make it legal, I had to have it published in the United States first. So, because I wasn't going to be this kind of like shrinking violet that was just going to publish this story as a Kindle kind of thing. I wanted that. I'm a book collector, you know, I'm a book collector of old. I collect antiquarian books. I wanted that feeling where your first edition flies through the letterbox and you're like, oh my God, like I wanted people, especially people who've nominated me for awards and things like this, I wanted them to have that feeling from me. I wanted them to be ordering the book or going to a bookshop and buying the book, or even coming and me signing it for them, or I would sign and send it to them, you know, whatever. I wanted them to have that feeling where they have got something in their hands from me, you know, so it's personal from me. So my story, so it depends on your perspective. So it's all about, it's my big book of knowledge about how you look at life. It is a memoir. It does go into, you know, it is taken from my journals. Quite a lot's taken from my actual journals when I was, written at the time that I was actually experiencing stuff. But the common thread that runs through it all, which is why I've said it's a big book of knowledge, the thing that runs through it all is my essence was not injured. My essence was still very much, as I'm projecting it out to you right now, my essence has always been unaffected. That person, that magical, sparkly person that I've always been at age 8, that's speaking with you right now, she was never damaged goods. She was never damaged. So it didn't matter what anybody did on the outside, she never absorbed it. That's just it, she never absorbed it. She carried on being creative, she carried on being a writer, she carried on being a painter, an artist, a musician. You know, I'm an amazing cook. I've started a nutritional fusion chef book also coming out, which is in publishers in London Bridge in London, which is also because we just went into tier 2, whatever that means, in London.
Can't even go there.
They're suffering with the skeleton staff, I think she said. So they've got a bit of a backlog, but that's coming out too, also in print. It will be on Amazon and Kindle too, but I wanted people to actually have. I wanted to leave something. It's like a legacy. So having my book published in the United States first, it's going to be worldwide release, but I get to go there with all the press and everything, TV and everything present, and I get to push a button to have my book published myself. And so I feel like I really do feel like I've earned that. And through personal development world and the motivational speaking world will tell you that the best revenge for any situation that you've experienced, the best revenge is to be happy, successful, smiling, and really feel like you're really enjoying stuff. I cannot imagine a better way to stand there, press the button for my book to be published in first edition hardback. You know, I can't imagine.
It's just amazing.
I mean, yes, I can do like hundreds of television programs, and you know, I can speak on the radio, the news, you know, all kinds of stuff. You know, I can be featured on different talk shows and stuff like that. But to actually do that, I worked so hard for it, so I'm prepared to wait until I can travel and go and do that in person.
Yeah. And have the full experience and honour again all the people that have supported you and followed you.
It's to give them something, back. It's nothing to do with money. Because a lot of people think they have this sort of like notion that you're going to write this best-selling book and it's going to make thousands of pounds. It doesn't work like that, and it actually costs thousands of pounds to actually do a book project, to actually get a book published. And I was very fortunate that I have a profound story and they wanted to publish it, so I didn't actually have to pay. And I got through TV work that I've done, I got put in front of these people, and they really loved what I'd written. They loved my style of writing, and they truly got the point. That it's your essence. So even when you've moved on and you know your essence is still the same. It's like sometimes now, and I genuinely mean this, I see pictures of myself showing up on social media like from this day 10 years ago, and I look at it and go, oh my gosh, you're like, you know, I am inspired. I see stuff and I think, wow, did you really write that? Did you really look like that? You know, I see things and I think, wow. You know, I've got to share that again. Because I'm inspiring myself.
Which is important.
I'm inspiring myself all the time too. And people's responses inspire me all the time. I get messages, you know, about 500 messages a month. And they're always along the lines of, you know, I was going to give up today, or I wasn't going to go to my appointment today, or I wasn't going to go and speak today, but then I thought about you and I knew that you wouldn't have just lay here feeling sorry for yourself, and so I went. Now I feel fantastic.
That's tremendous.
You know. I get a lot of those.
It's a beautiful legacy.
I get a lot of those.
It's just testament to how much you've helped other people and how much you continue to inspire and help other people. So I've got one more question to ask you.
Well, I didn't prepare anything. Just so everybody knows, when Jo asked me to do this interview, I didn't ask her a single question, so I didn't actually know what she was going to talk about or what she was going to ask me or anything. So now she said she's got a question, I feel nervous.
It's an easy one. Is there a holistic practice or a spiritual practice that you would do daily or on a regular basis that you'd recommend to my listener?
Yes. Because it's my life. It is actually my life. I really do feel very strongly about getting things out of you as part of your daily routines. So I was running a series of journal workshops, but I've recently changed up because I found that a lot of people just can't keep it up. So I can sit here all day and say to you, journal, 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 but if you're not a writer and you're not interested in writing every day, that's actually not going to work for you. So now I've a way of getting it out is actually scribbling, drawing, doodling. That's also another way of getting it out. Whatever method you need to use to get it out of you onto a page, do it. So I'm not talking about typing on screen here. I'm talking about actually making a connection with an inanimate object in between your fingers and actually getting it, manipulating it to make some sort of mark on a piece of paper. So a pencil, crayon, pen, whatever it is. That is your essence, your higher self connecting through and sending a signal out down your arm to move this instrument that we know as a pen, pencil, crayon, whatever, piece of chalk. And you are, even if it's illegible, it looks like a spider's crawled across the page. It doesn't have to make sense. It's just getting something out in a physical form. So it's taking your energy that you feel is bruised or damaged or hurt, in pain, emotionally damaged, emotionally upset or sad or whatever, because deep sadness is the thing, isn't it? Getting that out onto a piece of paper in any way imaginable is life-changing. So I'd even say using your other hand, so your non-dominant hand. So I've stopped telling people to journal now, and I tell people to do this. So you can journal, you can write words if you want, you can, whatever it is, just get something on a piece of paper. It can be absolutely anything. And so my next series of workshops will reflect this. It will be showing how to just get things on a piece of paper and turn it into something beautiful. Because as soon as it's out of you in a physical form, you know what it means. You see, no one else needs to know because it's just for you. It's private. So getting something down on a piece of paper is a physical thing. So you're turning that energy into a physical form that's making marks on a piece of paper. It doesn't actually live in you, but you perceive it as that. So it depends on your perspective. Yeah, that's the name of my book. It depends on perspective. You're perceiving things as being part of you, but they really are not. So by changing it into ink or some sort of colourful mark on a piece of paper, you're actually getting it out of you in a physical way. So it's giving you the sensation that you're getting it out of you. You're pouring it out.
Love it.
So I think they call it page dumping.
I call it that.
Yeah.
I call it brain dumping.
Yeah, I think a lot of people call it page dumping, where you're writing endlessly on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I do it myself, and I tell everyone that comes to me for sessions. Yeah, I totally agree. I'm with you on that in every way. And the creativity side of things, to let some kind of creativity flow.
Well, look, when I was paralysed, I never stopped being creative. I still carried on being connected with art communities, and like I said, I became a knitwear designer. People started buying my patterns, and it's what paid for me to go to see that surgeon in the first place. So the energy, it's all connected. It's all connected. So being creative was a huge driving force for me. And so by bringing that in now into personal development, because like I said, I don't like learning this language of, well, you've got to label everything. Why do you have to label everything? Why can't you just feel the process and feel? I mean, I don't know how Joe feels because I'm not you. You know, you might be, we're both here in this moment, but your feelings, as you're feeling your way through hearing my voice, are totally different to me sitting here and feeling your vibration and your voice. It's just the two are, intrinsically connected now, and we are feeling each other, but from very different ways. It's two people sharing the same moment, but from very different perspectives. So by getting things out of you, that's what I would say on a holistic level. Get it out. Just get it out, in no matter what way you have to.
Helen, how can people find you? If they want to learn more about you, if they want to join you for workshops and things, where and how do they find you?
Okay, so my website is called Celebrate Life Guild, and it's I hate this part. It's http is it / celebratelifeguild.global. Oh my god, I said it without pause. An achievement.
And you have a Facebook page with the same name, don't
all
you?
my social media links are on the bottom of my website. Brilliant. So you can connect with me. I hang out on Facebook and Instagram mainly. Instagram, I love Instagram because it's very visual. You have to put a photo to ramble on there, and your posts can't be very long. So on Instagram, it kind of works. It's working for me at the moment because I can just go on there and put a photo. And also, it's also sharing snippets of my life with you. You know, like so being creative, being just the essence. I'm sure the essence comes through, and Instagram automatically posts to all other platforms, so saves you energy for other exciting things. Yes.
You're probably one of the most authentic people I've ever spoken to.
Oh.
You just truly are, and I feel really blessed that we met, and I feel blessed that you agreed to come and talk on Coming Out of the Dark with me. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Helen.
Well, thank you for talking about your vision as well. Vision is a physical thing, isn't it? Eyesight is a physical thing, but it's also a perception. It's also perception.
I always say losing my sight was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
I really mean that. Yeah.
Yeah, because now the value of it is totally different, isn't it? because even I can see a lot more distance now than I ever could before. When I was a big person, I think when I lost lots of weight, the shape of my eye changed, and so the fat molecules and everything disappeared. And I was able to see stuff, so I could see clocks and things, which I never knew before. Oh, a funny story quickly before we go about that.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I was actually, really quite legally blind, and I could only see just past the end of my nose. People were talking about moths, and I thought they were this huge, massive things. And when recently, I got to see some moths, and I thought, oh, is that all they are? They were so little. Whole life I had been terrified. Because my brain had blown it up into this massive thing.
I love it. Bless you. Thank you so much, Helen. And I hope maybe you'll join us on the show again sometime.
I will. I'd love to.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. And what can I say to my listeners? They're just going to absolutely love you like I do. Thank you so much.